This is Irene Avonelle Johnson Hawke's Oral History, Part 5. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I am just fine, thank you.
Good. Today we're going to talk about Tucson High and when you started dating my father.
Yes, my favorite subject.
Yeah, good. Now, we established last time that the first couple times you saw him, you were actually still in junior high, correct?
I was in junior high.
Right. One time he crashed a dance that you were having with some of his buddies, and he asked you to dance with him, right?
Right.
And then he was deputized by Tucson High to come and speak to all the ninth graders at Mansfield to welcome you to Tucson High.
That's right.
Right. So that's because, why was he deputized to do that?
Well, he had been president of the student body at my junior high,
Right.
so they all knew him there. And when he went into high school, they elected him president of the sophomore class, so
Okay.
that's why.
So he was a big man on campus already.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, all right. So talk about the next time you met him, once you went to Tucson High, when was the next time you met him?
Well, I really didn't meet him again, but we were in orchestra together when I went to high school. And also, we both went to the same youth group at church.
Right.
On Sunday nights, we had youth group, and we would have parties and Bible study and stuff like that.
Right. So in the orchestra, I know you played horns, right?
Yeah, right.
What did you play in the orchestra?
Well, that was funny. I took orchestra as a subject because I played the piano. I never touched the piano that year, and I just sat in a desk listening to them all year.
No, that's why I asked the question, because I knew you played piano, but you didn't take up another instrument.
No.
Okay, all right. So you were kind of seeing each other around.
Yeah, just knowing each other was there.
Well, did you like have any extended chats or talks?
No.
Or it was just, oh, there's Babe Hawke over there. That was
No,
about it?
no.
Okay. And that was the case throughout your freshman year? Or
Yeah,
your sophomore year?
yes.
Okay. So we move. So you started actually talking to each other in your junior year then.
Well, no, it was in the summer before my junior year,
Okay.
the beginning of the summer.
Okay. So how did that roll out?
Well, it was on a Sunday evening, and we were both at youth group at the First Methodist Church across from the campus, and we were having a treasure hunt, and that meant everybody had to go in cars to hunt for the things they had hidden all over town. And lo and behold, this cute freckle-faced boy named Babe came over to me and said, "I'd like for you to go in the car with me." And I was all kind of flustered, and I said, "Oh, that'd be great. Let me ask my aunt and uncle," which I had to do, and I got permission. And
So this was a treasure hunt that was going to take place the next week?
No, that night.
So that night, you still had time to go home and ask your aunt and uncle to come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he drove me in his car, and I asked my aunt and uncle if I could go on the treasure hunt with Babe, and she said yes.
Did they have any idea who he was?
I'm not sure. I don't think probably they did at that moment. No, but they knew the Hawke family from way back.
Okay.
From Eastern Star and all the activities in Tucson.
So he was of good stock.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So that was our first encounter as a date.
Okay, and you saw it as a date.
Well, I considered it a date.
Okay. And
I was all of 15 years old.
right, but you were with a group of people. Were there other people in the car, or just the two of you?
I don't remember, but it seemed I just remember Babe and me.
Okay, and as it should be. And so you go on this treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Right? What was that like? Was it awkward?
No.
Was he all chatty and everything? Were you
No,
all chatty or?
it was just very natural.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after the treasure hunt, did he take you home?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened next?
Well, he started coming over to see me. We only lived a block apart.
Uh-huh.
So
this is before you moved to First.
That was before we moved to
First
First Avenue. We were on 6th Street. He started coming over and just sitting, and we'd talk, and and we'd see each other at church on Sunday, and we dated all summer that way.
Well, you said the treasure hunt was just before your.
It was his early summer before my junior year.
So you kind of, this is how the summer went by. So would he come over every day?
No, Babe had just been elected at the end of May as student body president for the next year, his senior year, and I was going into my junior year. He'd call or come over and see me just about every day, and
during the summer.
During the summer.
Was he working? He was working.
Oh yeah, he was working. He'd come over after work.
Where was he working?
I don't remember, but one of the places he worked during that time was the an ice cream shop, Double Dip, Double Dip ice cream, and he had a number of jobs all through high school, but he worked every summer, and he'd come over and we'd sit out on the front porch, or we'd go in and sit in the living room or whatever. Very, very innocuous. We would just talk.
So at this point, he wasn't asking you to go out anywhere?
I'm trying to think if we went. Yeah, surely we did. Did we go to the movies then? I remember going to the movies more after I moved to the First Avenue and I was a senior in high school. No, we went to the movies when I was a junior in high school, but I don't know about that summer. Mostly we went on picnics out at Sabino Canyon, and a bunch of kids would get together and the moms would fix the food and we'd go out on a picnic, or we'd just have fun on the front porch in the evening, have some lemonade or whatever.
Now, when he'd come see you, did you ever go see him at his house, or was he always coming to see you?
I'm sorry?
Was he always coming to see you? Did you ever go to his house?
No, not that summer.
Okay, so at this point, have you met his parents?
No.
Or his brothers?
No.
Okay, did you know who his brothers were? George and Tom Hawke?
No.
Okay, all right. Now, when he would come to see you, were you always chaperoned? Was there somebody always there?
Oh, there was always someone at the house.
Well, at the house, but was there always somebody in your presence?
No.
So it's just the two of you chatting?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Bobby.
Yeah, okay. Now, when was the first time he held your hand?
Oh, I don't remember that. I don't remember.
But you remember kind of the run-up to the first time he kissed you.
Oh, I remember that.
Talk about that.
Oh, Frank. Toward the end of the summer, he had tried to kiss me a couple of times before that, and I had shied away because I didn't.
You had demurred.
Because I didn't think good girls did that very soon after they started dating. Can you imagine? And I remember his brother George, who was 4 years older and in college, asked me to come and bring me, or to bring a date, on a picnic out at Sabino Canyon, but they were all college students. And as we sat in the car when we got there, Babe tried to kiss me, and I shied away, and I said, no, I didn't think so. And so he didn't. And but this one night when he took me home, I always had to go around to the back door to go into the house at night.
This was the night of the picnic, or just as a later time?
A later night.
Okay.
Frank, for goodness sake. And he took me around the side of the house because I had to go in the back door. And he stopped and he wanted to kiss me goodnight, and I let him. And he always said, kids are so funny. I teased him about it. And he always said, if you had not let me kiss you that night, that was the end. I was not going to come over. I was not going to call you anymore. That was it.
It's funny on how history turns on such minor events.
Isn't that funny? But somehow I knew I'd better let him kiss me.
So this was later this is before school started, do you remember?
This was before school started.
Okay, all
But
right.
you'll laugh at this. I remember so well. When he kissed me, I didn't know whether to put my arms up on his shoulder or around his neck. I was the most stupid, naive little girl. Oh, I
So
cannot
is it
believe
fair
it.
to say this was your first romantic kiss?
The first time I ever felt such
Yes. is the
care
answer.
and love
The
and
answer is yes. It was
romance
your first romantic kiss.
for
Yeah, okay.
for a boy, yeah.
All right. Did he seem to know where to put his hands?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask your dad.
So okay, so we're about to start your junior year, his
Yeah.
senior year in high school,
Uh-huh.
and you've already been dating to the point now where you're kissing. And,
Yeah.
and that's nice. So now junior year starts at Tucson High.
Right.
And so prior to this, the blacks went to certain schools before high school.
Yeah.
And all the white, Latinos, Jewish kids, Asian kids went to
All together.
Were together.
Uh-huh.
But at this point, they're all coming together,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's no segregation at this point
No.
outside the school.
No.
But there is segregation within the school. Right?
Well-
Can you talk about that a little bit?
There was, and I didn't know it. I really wasn't aware of it. I don't know where I was in La La Land or what, but
Well, you knew of it because you can talk about it, how there was segregation within the school, but you didn't think anything about it. You were aware of it, and because there were black homerooms.
we didn't
right?
even think about it.
Well, but you thought about it enough to know about it because there were separate black homerooms, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I was an adult and working on a reunion before I really realized how segregated it was.
Right, but talk about this. So once you realized it, talk about how segregated it was.
Well, they had separate homerooms where you met every day to just get to know each other in your homeroom class. And they were segregated as far as choral groups were concerned. They had their own choral group. And they were segregated as far as I think they played the sports. They played football with the white.
Yeah, my understanding is they had integrated
Yeah.
sports teams.
We had classes together.
So
And they came to our dances.
talk about that, but how did that work out?
They did not mix with the whites at the dances. And I don't remember very many of them coming. And I don't remember any black girls at the dances. I just remember the black boys came.
And just watched then.
Apparently, it seemed like that was the case. It was predominantly a white school.
Yeah, but regarding the dances, was there some trouble over that?
Well, one girl, very popular girl in my class, danced with the black boy one night at a dance.
And who was that?
It was Joy Cloud, but I don't remember who the boy was. And that was very much talked about. I don't remember it. It was talked about at the time. It was just told to me later.
Okay, but you weren't aware of any disciplinary action that was
No,
taken, right?
no.
Now, it's interesting they had a different choral group. Now, you say you weren't really aware of it until later, but at the time, were they doing the same music you were, or were they much cooler?
I wasn't involved in the choral groups.
Okay.
So I
But you never went to a performance or
Yeah.
anything that you were. So talk about what would you and what classes did you take at Tucson High for those 2 years, the junior, senior years? What kinds of classes were you taking?
Well, of course, we had English every year. Had wonderful English teachers. We had biology, geometry, history, American history. I took typing class. We could choose to take typing. We had our senior year, half of the year we had economics, and the other half we had civics. The football coach taught those classes, Coach Gridley. Um, I remember my teachers, Mr. McLean, Miss Khalil. Alice Vale was my senior.
You say Miss Khalil?
Uh,
About the Khalil family?
uh,
Oh, okay.
she taught typing. Oh, we had American history. Mr. McLean taught that. Virginia Poindexter taught my junior English class. She was a fabulous teacher. She was so glamorous. I'm not sure she'd been out of college very long.
All the boys like her?
Oh yeah, and she was a delight. She was a wonderful teacher. Mr. Cook was our biology teacher. Oh,
So
Miss.
it was the usual stuff.
What?
It was the usual stuff.
Yeah, usual stuff.
Did you take PE? Have to take PE class?
Yeah, we had to have. It was mandatory for the first year or two.
Okay.
But then I became a double baton twirler in front of the band, and I had to take it the third year.
So let's talk about that. How did you get into baton twirling? How did that happen?
Well, they asked if any of us would like to try out for it, so I got a baton and practiced and tried out and made the squad, and then end of our junior year, the coach wanted to have double baton twirlers, so she picked about 4 of us to be double baton twirlers, which I was.
Which means doing it with your left hand as well as your right hand.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And being a piano player, that probably was easier for you than for most
Well, I
kids,
hit my head and my arms and my body a few times practicing. I can still see me practicing out on the front yard.
Yeah.
And my best girlfriend, Sarah, was a dancer, a ballet and show dancer. And she and another girl who was a dancer were in front of we 4 girls, and then there was a squad of baton twirlers. Baton twirling was the thing then. They were like the pom pom girls are today.
So it was the 2 of them, the 4 of you, and then the squad.
Okay. And then the band.
Yeah. Now, did your wanting to be a baton twirler have anything to do with Dad being the drum major?
Not really.
Really? It wasn't connected?
No, it wasn't
kind of
connected.
hang out more together?
No.
Because you were already hanging out a lot.
We were already hanging out all the time.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't afford to have 2 batons, so the band would go on by themselves, and then we'd go on as a whole group. So as Dad would come off the field, he'd throw me his baton, and I'd use his for the double baton.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that was so cool.
So actually, he used the same baton you guys used.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a drum major, that wouldn't have worked.
No, it wouldn't have worked.
Very different, yeah.
Anyway, we had fun.
Oh, okay.
The whole substance of all this is we had a wonderful high school fun.
Well, so talk about music during this period of time, because, were you still privately taking piano lessons?
Yes.
What classes were you taking in school?
Yes.
I'll talk about that a little.
Well, I wasn't doing much piano in school, in high school, like I did in junior high. I did go into the auditorium and play the organ periodically in high school, and I knew nothing about an organ. I don't know what I thought I was doing, but I had fun trying, playing the foot pedals and tootling around on the organ, and I just had a lot of fun in high school. I tried to participate in everything.
No, but the music side of it, so you continued to take piano lessons privately?
Was I what?
Were you taking piano lessons
Yes,
privately throughout this entire period?
Yeah.
Okay, and how many hours a week was that?
I had an hour lesson every week, and then I'd practice when I wanted to.
I was going to say, were the baton twirling and the dating of Dad kind of cut into your practice time?
Yeah, I had to really use my sight reading to to take my lessons.
Okay. But then what music classes were you taking at Tucson High?
None.
You weren't in the band or the orchestra? Or
Not after my sophomore year.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
No, I got onto the Dean's Committee. I worked an hour in the Dean of Girls' office, and I was in the Social Hour Committee. I was a senior councilwoman on the on the student council. I just had a lot of fun.
Okay. Now, at this time, you're still a member of Rainbow Girls, right?
Yeah, and I became the head of them right after my senior year in high
Right.
school.
So how much time did that take every week?
It took, we met once a week.
Mm-hmm.
No, once, I can't remember whether we met once a week or once a month.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was on a Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Why I remember that, I don't know.
And the talk about the dances you guys would have. What was that kind of your main social activity, or the?
Oh, we had a social high school, and we went to high school during a period of dancing. Everyone danced. Everyone loved to dance. Everyone learned to dance, or it seemed like everyone. I'm sure they didn't, but it seemed like everyone did. And your dad was a fabulous dancer. We had so much fun together dancing. We jitterbugged. It was a big band era. Tommy Dorsey, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Glenn Miller.
So we're talking, basically your 3 high school years were 39, 40, 41, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was an unusual period at Tucson High, and the teachers all have said many times that period produced the best swing band that the high school ever had. They played all of the big band charts, and they were really good.
Was Dad in it?
What?
Was
No.
Dad was not in the swing band? Okay.
No.
So how often did you have a dance?
Probably every other week. Of some kind. It was either a dance after school that they'd have in the cafeteria, or it would be a formal, or it would be one of the organizations would have a big formal dance. All your organizations seem to plan 1 or 2 dances a year. Dad used to say, as an adult after we were married, he'd say, I think when someone bought a toothbrush, they had to have a dance, because we just always were going to a dance. We'd go to a football game on Friday night, and then we'd go to, and they always had a dance after a football game in the cafeteria. Or we'd go to the movies on Saturday night. We'd go to church every Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning I was in church singing in the choir. And we go to church every Sunday night to the youth group. So we had a busy 3 years in high school.
Okay. And the football games, because there was only one high school in town.
There's only one.
So, having away games, every other game must have been an away game, which was quite a ways away. Well, how would you get there?
On a special train. Can you believe that? The Southern Pacific had a special train, and we'd all go down and have a rally before we got on the train. And we'd
have a rally at the station?
At the station. And we'd all get on the train and go to Douglas, Nogales, Mesa.
Bisbee? Did you go to Bisbee ever? Bisbee?
No. Okay. We'd go to Phoenix, Mesa, Nogales, Douglas. Those seem to be the major towns where we went on the train to have games.
And would Uncle Maynard sometimes be the engineer? Okay. Who was the big rival for Tucson High? Who was the big rival? Who was your main rival for Tucson High in sports?
Well, Coach Gridley was a big...
No, who was your big rival, the other team?
Rival.
Rival. Yeah.
Phoenix Union.
Phoenix Union.
Phoenix Union.
All right. Now, tell me about the one time, the famous time you all went to Phoenix Union. What happened?
Well, Uncle Maynard was the engineer on the train, and he allowed me to go because I was too young to go at that time. I think I was only in 9th grade. And but I was able to go because he would be there and he could watch over me. We won the game, and that was a no-no for Phoenix Union. Oh, they couldn't deal with that. So gangs got together, and they went down to the station, and then they went down to the bridge that the train would go over, and they threw rocks at the train windows, and then they got shotgun. I don't know what kind of guns they were, BB guns, shotguns. I don't know what they were, but they shot at the train and actually shot through the cab near, just missed my uncle, and so the chaperones, the teachers that were on board, ordered all of us under the seats. So we all crouched under the seats of the train, away from the windows. But that was quite a to-do. And they barred, I forget, they barred our playing with them, our competition with them. I don't remember for how many years, 1 or 2 years.
Okay, so there were repercussions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
and
yeah.
did the windows in your car break?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so there was glass all over the place?
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been frightening.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. It was written up in the Arizona, what's that?
The Republic?
No, the Historical Society.
Oh, okay.
In one of the books they put out, it was written about.
Okay.
I don't know who got that when I moved.
Do you know, was anybody ever arrested or prosecuted?
I know nothing more about it except that they suspended the
Okay.
games.
Okay.
It was quite a thing. I remember that so well.
But you would go. But by the time you got to Tucson High and you were a twirler, were you playing Phoenix Union again or not?
I don't remember ever performing at Phoenix Union. We did at Mesa. That was a great place to go. The kids treated us so well, and they always had a big picnic lunch before the game for all of us girls.
Oh, nice.
And we got to know the girls real well, and we loved going to Mesa.
So you say the band would go on and perform first, and then you would go on?
It would be different. They have different performances every game. It was a big deal in those days. In high school.
Sure. And about how many people were in your baton corps?
Oh, gee, I have a picture of it in the albums. I'll show you next time we go down. 10 or 12, 14.
Okay. And how many kids in the band? About
30 or 40.
Okay, so it wasn't a big band.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So what was? So you, every 2 weeks you're having a dance and with a live band, the swing band.
Oh, it was a great band.
And did they have a singer in front of them, or they?
Oh yeah, they had a trio:
Uh-huh.
Joy Cloud, Maxine Inman, Natalie Carrillo.
So they'd be like the Pied Pipers.
Yeah, right. And sometimes Lainey Bloom of the Bloom family. Joy Cloud, I think I mentioned her. Oh yeah, and they'd be in their formals and they'd get up at the mic and sing in front of the band. But I'm serious, I'm a musician, and it was a good band.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you guys would just dance your feet off?
Oh yeah.
How long would they last?
From about 9 until midnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there would be refreshments?
Oh yeah. A punch.
Did anybody ever spike the punch?
No.
There was no punch spiking going on?
No.
Okay. So this would be, and they were always on the weekend?
And we all wore formals, and we all got corsages from our dates.
Every 2 weeks?
Oh, for the formals.
For the formals, okay.
Just for the formals.
Okay. But they were all taking place like on a Friday or a Saturday?
Right.
The day there wasn't a football game or something?
Right,
yeah. So then during the week, did you date? Or was dating
no.
strictly a weekend?
I was not allowed to date. Will you believe this? Until I was 23 and got married, I was not allowed to go out on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Before either I went to school or I went to teach.
Mm-hmm.
That was not a dating night.
And Monday through Thursday?
Monday through Thursday was not a dating night.
So all days took place on a Friday or a Saturday?
Right.
Okay. And so when you didn't have a formal or something, what would you guys do?
Sit in my aunt's living room and talk and deal with my cousin Bobby.
Who was what, 6, 7 years younger
Yeah,
than you?
yeah.
Yeah.
He was 7 years younger than I.
What would he do?
What?
What would he do?
Oh, he'd sit across the room, cross-legged in a chair, and just watch us. And then Aunt Anna, my aunt would come in on the dot, 9 o'clock at night, and she'd say, to come to the living room, she'd say, well, I think it's time everyone closed everything up, and I think it's time, Avonelle, that you and Bobby come to bed. And that was Babe's cue to say goodnight and leave.
Okay. And Bobby would just sit there.
Oh, yeah.
And Aunt Anna wouldn't think to come out and say, Bobby,
No.
get out of there.
No. No.
Now, at what point did you meet Dad's family and all this?
Oh, I don't remember the exact date or the time, but Mom always loved having her son's girlfriends come over for Sunday dinner. And eventually I was invited to Sunday dinner. And so it was love at first sight when Mom and I saw each other. Just love at first sight. That
was Dad in college by this time, or was he still?
No, high school.
So, okay, just fairly early on then. And then you met his two brothers at the same time?
Yeah.
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 Did Uncle Tom start giving you a hard time right
Oh,
off the bat?
terrible. George I didn't get to know very well because he was living at the fraternity house.
He was the oldest son, right?
And he was usually not there. And he was house manager at his fraternity. And so he lived up there on campus. So usually it was just Tom and Babe. Yeah.
And Tom would give you a hard time.
Oh, he was a terrible tease. Oh.
And you were a very sensitive girl.
Oh, yes. He just hurt my feelings. Oh.
What were some of the things he would say?
Well, I was always very conscious about the fact that I thought I had a very big nose.
Right.
And that bothered me. And if he'd come in the kitchen where the one and only telephone was in their house, and Babe would be on the phone talking to me, which he often was, he'd come over and he'd say, oh, I wish I had that nose full of nickels. How crude can you be?
So he knew you were sensitive about your nose.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. And
How would he know that?
I don't know. I don't know. But I got him.
Yeah. How?
Well, after Dad and I broke up, sometime after, and the war was on, Tom was home on leave and had a date with a college student and two other couples. And Mom had them over for dinner before we all went out on the date. And I had a date with one of the fellows. And right in front of him, he teased me about my nose. I think I remember. And I'd had it. And it wasn't in my nature to do this, but I looked straight at him, and Tom was getting bald, like Babe was. And he tried to cover it over with some of his hair. And I looked right at him and I said, what do you use on your head, Tom, for that bald spot? Glover's mange cure? And he just almost died. And I was so ashamed of myself.
But the fact that you weren't with Dad that night kind of liberated you, maybe.
I wasn't with Dad.
So maybe you were liberated a little bit.
I don't know what I felt, but I wasn't going to take that anymore. And he never again in his lifetime teased me about my nose. I'll never forget that.
The funniest man in the world.
Oh, he was. Tom was funny. Oh.
So how often, okay, so Dad's coming to your place, and then you're now on North First Avenue, so he's coming there.
Uh-huh.
And then how often are you going to his house?
Oh, I don't know how often, but often.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're becoming a welcome guest there.
Yeah.
A frequent guest.
And I was getting closer and closer to Mom and Dad, and especially Mom. I was very close to her.
Now, so other than visiting at each other's houses, going to the fortnightly dance, how else did you date? What would you do together?
Well, of course, after a year and a half of dating in high school, he went off to college, which
I'm
was.
talking about during high school, though. How would you date?
What else would we do?
Yeah, how else would you date? Would you go to movies? Would you go to a
And,
drive-in?
and picnics.
Picnics?
Well, we saw physically, or we talked over the phone every day.
Right. Right. But then, did you, for example, go out and get a hamburger and a
No,
soda
only
to go out to movies?
we'd only get hamburgers and Cokes after a movie,
Okay, so
or after a dance.
So you go to a movie?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We'd go to a movie and then go to the Red and Blue or the Reed and Bells and to a drive-in, and we'd always get a hamburger and a frosted root beer.
Uh-huh. And all the other kids would be there too.
Oh, yeah.
So there'd be bantering back and forth.
Yeah, right.
You know, of course, Dad was
Just like you see on Happy Days.
Okay. Yeah. And of course, Dad was the big man on campus.
Oh, yeah.
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 Were you jealous? Were there other girls who chased him?
No, I felt very secure. I don't know why.
Well, he made you feel that way, obviously.
Yeah. Well, he asked me to go steady just before our school year, the first year we dated. So
that was just after he kissed you.
it was a no-no for me to date any other boy, and it was a no-no for him to date another girl.
So this was just after he kissed you the first time?
Yeah.
He asked you to go steady?
Right.
Now, what did that mean other than the words? Was there an exchange of anything, or?
No, but just before school started, no, it wasn't. It was about October or November of that first year we dated. Dad, one night when he took me home, gave me a gift, and it was this.
Okay,
I still have.
Put your hand down. Okay. Okay.
I still have it. It was a lovely little locket, and he said, "I want to give you a present," and I looked at it and I said, "Oh, here I am, 15, and he's 16, and he had saved all of his money from working to buy this for me." And I said, "Oh, I can't take that, you know." I don't know, we were a different generation, I guess. And he insisted. So, of course, I gave in. And I put the same pictures I put in that night when I went in the house are still in there. It's little high school pictures of him. And this is about, that was in 1939. The summer of 39. So how many years ago was that?
Well, that would have been 61 plus 21, 82 years.
That's how old this little locket is.
And you're assuming he bought it new.
What?
You're assuming he bought it new, which I'm sure he did.
Yeah, it was brand new. It had a box.
Okay.
And so when Dad died, the night that he died, we took his ring off, his wedding ring, and I put it on the locket and started wearing it. So.
Yeah, just so we can see it. You got your hand over it. You can't see it. Yeah, okay.
So I wear it all the time with his wedding ring.
So you mentioned that he spent the money he saved up. So he was working.
Oh, always.
During high school.
Dad had a job, believe it or not, from the time he was 5 years old when he went with his older brothers to sell magazines door to door. He always had a little job, later a bigger job, but they didn't have any money. If he was going to date and do the things that he wanted to do in high school like most kids, he had to earn the money. His dad and mom didn't have the money to give it to him.
Well, let's talk about that because tell me about his mom and dad. Well, tell me about their family a little bit. A little bit about their background and what they went through in the Depression, etc.
Well, they were married in 1914. They had 3 children, George, Tom, and Babe. Babe being the baby. That's how he got his baby name, Babe. Dad worked for Steinfeld's heavy machinery and that they sold at that time, and hardware. And in those days, the department stores had extremely high ceilings and places to store things very high. And Dad was on a very tall ladder to trying to get something off of the shelf up there, and fell flat on his back and had terrible injuries, lifetime injuries, and it limited his ability to work. In fact, he couldn't work for a period of time, of years, and then recovered enough that he had a night watchman job. So aside from the fact that nobody worked during those early years of Babe's life, it was the Great Depression. Dad did end up with this job with the Pima County shops, and he was their night watchman from 3 in the afternoon. From 3 in the afternoon until midnight he worked. Now, are you ready for this? Dad worked 7 days a week, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to midnight, all the rest of his working years, life, without a vacation.
So when you would go to dinner there, he wouldn't be there?
No, well, Sunday would be a noon dinner. Their big meal every day was at noon.
Oh, okay.
And so yes, on the weekends he would be there. So Dad was disabled the rest of his life.
And by the time you met him, he was already
disabled.
This has already happened.
And he was working. By the time working as a night watchman.
And Grandma never worked.
No, yes.
Well,
no,
you know what I meant.
I know what you mean. No, she never had an outside job. What they did was they took in boarders. Now they lived in a lovely, sweet little home that was built by Babe's uncle, who was a contractor. And it was very near the university and the high school. But it had 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a basement that was unfinished, just the bare basement walls. So in order to get money to get food, they moved down to the basement.
All 5 of them?
All 5 of them. Mom and Dad and the 3 boys. And they slept in the basement, and they rented out their 2 bedrooms upstairs to teachers. And 2 of them were from Mansfield Junior High. And and they boarded there. She cooked for them. So they lived in the basement and rented out the top floor to teachers, and Mom would cook for them. And that's how they got money to live.
And how long did this go on?
I don't know.
By the time you met Dad, that was no longer?
No, that was no longer the case. By the time I started going over there for dinner, Dad was working, and they were managing on what he earned, and Mom was a wonderful woman. She could manage on peanuts, and everything would look wonderful. She cooked good meals. Her house was pristine. It was beautiful. She kept it so nice.
I spent time in that basement, and that basement is about right for 1 person.
Yeah.
You had all 5 down there.
All 5 of them slept there. The kids played down there. Jack Rowe, the owner of Precision Toyota, came down with polio down there playing with the kids.
He became symptomatic.
Yeah. But they were a happy family. It took so little to make people happy then. So little.
So Dad had jobs as long as you knew him?
As long as I...
Do you remember what some of those jobs... Didn't he have a job delivering drinks?
Oh, gee.
Yeah. Tell me one aspect of that.
When he was about 14, he had a job delivering cases of Coke and ginger ale and carbonated drinks to a house down in the west side of town.
Well, he delivered it to many places.
Yeah, to many places.
One of these places was
downtown in Snob Hollow. That's what we call that area. But just west of Snob Hollow was the red light district. Well, what do you mean by red light? I didn't know. But anyway, when he was about 14, he had to deliver some cases of soft drinks there. And he would be so embarrassed. He didn't really know what was going on, if you can imagine. But he'd go to the door, side door, and he'd knock and deliver, and here would come these gals in their negligees, and they would tease him and give him a hard time, and he'd throw the cases of soft drink in there and run as fast as they could to get back to the whatever he was in. Very young. There weren't very many rules then, and of course you could drive at a very young age. But yeah, that was one of his jobs. Then he iced freight trains as they came through one summer. That was a very, very physically hard job, but he made his money that summer doing that. He managed an ice cream, what we called ice cream parlors.
He was a soda jerk.
Soda jerk.
That's what they called him.
That's what they called him. Right. He was a soda jerk. And he always talked about when the Indians would come in their wagons and horses with all their kids in the back end of the wagon. He would start getting everything that was strawberry out because they always wanted the strawberry drinks and the strawberry ice cream. And they'd stop and he'd fix it for them. Yeah, he always had a job. Oh, one summer he had a very hard job working for the Southern Pacific Railroad. And they worked in the roundhouse where they repaired the engines and took care of the trains. And that was a hard, hot job. The summers were so hot, and they worked up high. And he'd come home. Mom had a shower head outside, and he'd come home just black from the soot from the trains, and he'd have to shower outside before he could come in the house.
Yeah, so from the time you knew him until the end of his life, until he finally retired, he was always working at something.
Always.
So when you were dating, what were his jobs? Do you remember? When you were dating in high school, what was he doing?
Well, he was at the ice cream parlor after school.
Didn't he work at a service station?
Oh, in college.
That was college.
Yeah, in fact, on Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, 41, he was working at Standard Station. He managed the station. He was a sophomore or a freshman in college, and he was working at the station on weekends and at night. And yeah, he was working there. And then the following summer, he worked up in Phoenix for the Standard Station and boarded at a house up in Phoenix. He always had a job.
Now, did you work at all during high school?
The only job I had in high school was in the Dean of Women's office, and I had a job an hour a day filling out all of the work time cards. Oh, what do they call it? The junior achievement. The kids that worked when they were in high school.
You get paid for that?
I got paid $1 a week, and I paid for my music lesson.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure girls, like all girls through all time, were very fashion conscious at this time?
Well, yeah, but I couldn't be because I didn't have any money to buy clothes. Margaret made my clothes.
Margaret
Nally, who was a home ec teacher and was dating my cousin, Brader. She made beautiful formals for me for my formal.
Okay. Yeah.
She made beautiful formals for me when the formals would come up, and then she made school clothes for me. And then she came over one day to my aunt's house with a box gift. I opened it, and here she had bought me a beautiful, a high school girl should have never had it, a beautiful black velvet, long, floor-length evening coat with a hood on it. And it was lined with white taffeta. It was a beautiful coat. But Margaret took care of my clothes in high school.
But the girls who could afford fashions, what were the fashions like back then? Do you remember what was really big?
Well, saddle shoes in high school.
For boys and girls?
And little Oxfords too, for girls. and in college, what we called penny loafers, and had to wear socks. You didn't go without socks.
So the first time you went without socks in your life was not till you got to college?
When I got to college.
Okay. How about hose?
Clothes?
Hose.
Hose? No. During the war, you couldn't get nylons.
And you didn't wear them in high school?
No.
Okay.
But in college, we used, what did we call it? Oh, what did we call it?
Well, let's not worry about it. We're talking about high school still.
Yeah, okay.
So, okay, the shoes, you had to wear socks. You couldn't go sockless. Were you allowed to wear pants to school?
No.
Okay.
No.
Girls had to wear dresses.
Dresses and sweaters and blouses.
Okay, and dresses had to be below the knees. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And sweaters and blouses.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And the boys, obviously,
The boys wore corduroys or Levi's.
they could wear Levi's.
Uh-huh.
Did they have to have a collared shirt?
No.
They could wear a t-shirt?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And moccasins.
Okay.
And saddle shoes.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, what was who would come through Tucson in terms of popular artists? Let's start with the first time you saw Frank Sinatra, or the only time you saw Frank Sinatra.
Well, the big band, as I say, it was big band era, and the big bands spent their winters. They came through in the at the end of winter. They would get on their buses and drive to the West Coast, and they spend the summers on the West Coast. Winters on the West Coast. And they would have what they called a one-night stand at different cities. And for some reason, fortunately, Tucson was one of the ones that a lot of the bands stopped at. So just as Frank Sinatra was gaining notice and popularity with Tommy Dorsey's band, they stopped in Tucson one weekend and played in the lobby of the Santa Rita Hotel. And I got to go and hear them. And I just loved it. Little old skinny Frank Sinatra got to the microphone, and oh my goodness, we all just loved it.
And at that time, you weren't very old. You didn't even know Dad at that point, did you? You weren't dating Dad.
Yeah. And I can't figure out why Dad wasn't with me that night. Unless it was right after we broke up in 41, the summer of 41. I'm a little confused about the timing of that.
Okay, well, we'll get back to that. We'll clarify that in the next
But it
session.
seems like it must have been right after my high school graduation, because I remember wearing the dress I had for graduation.
You were 17, which would have been in 1941.
So I was 17.
1941.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think he was with Dorsey then. He was only with Dorsey for 3 years. So it was a pretty short time frame. We'll get that pinned down.
Yeah.
But so would people, when he sang, would people just gather around the bandstand and watch him?
Yeah.
Or would they dance?
They do both.
Both,
Sometimes they'd gather around, sometimes they'd dance.
And was there any swooning?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. And would Dorsey or Sinatra, would they talk between songs? Would there be like comedy and jokes and
No,
stuff? Or was
no,
it
no.
just do the set list?
It was very professional, except that I remember, for some reason, that Tommy Dorsey was late coming in. The band started, and they played before he got there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how long did they play?
Until midnight.
From 9 to midnight?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Well, they had breaks.
Right, sure.
The union required that.
Okay. Well, in addition to Dorsey and Sinatra, who else came through that you guys would
Well,
see?
that was later in our life. Les Brown and his band of renown came through with Doris Day fronting them, and played at the Officers Club at Davis-Monson while we were there. Louis Armstrong came through and played at the Officers Club. Jimmy Saunders, it seems like that was the name. It was a very good band, but wasn't a prominent one.
You saw Buddy Rich at some point?
We were stationed in Montgomery, Alabama. I was pregnant with Kathy, I think, when we went to hear and dance to Buddy Rich.
But in terms of high school and college in Tucson, other than Dorsey and Sinatra, can you recall anybody coming through that you saw?
Kate Smith came and gave her radio show, her weekly radio show at the University Auditorium. I got to go to that and hear it. She was great. Great singer, great entertainer. Bob Hope brought his weekly radio show and did it down at the Temple of Music and Art, and a whole bunch of college students, I was with them, gathered and heard him.
Who he usually had guests.
Yeah, and I don't remember who they were. I don't remember who they were. I remember the night.
So that's interesting. You got to see Bob Hope when you were in college,
and
I got to see Bob Hope in 1979 in Beijing.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's interesting. His long career.
Yeah.
And then who else? Was it Andre Castellanos? Who was it? My junior year in high school, one of the big pop orchestras, really a symphonic orchestra, directors came through. Was it Andre Castellanos? I don't remember.
Okay. So you're dating Dad, he graduates, he goes off to college, okay, you're now a senior,
Yeah.
You're continuing to date while
Yeah.
he's a freshman in college,
Uh-huh.
and then what happens?
Well, he pledged the same fraternity his brothers were in when he went to college, the Fijis, and right after he was initiated in February of 42, February of 41, they had what they called their annual Fiji Island dance. And everybody had to wear sarongs or grass skirts or some whatever for Fiji Island, because they called them the Fijis. And only because of their name, Figam. So I had a grass skirt that my cousin Janie had been given by some boyfriend, and I had inherited it. And so I wore a pair of shorts under it and a midriff top that was very, very demure.
I'm sure.
It had sleeves. I have a picture of it. And I wore huaraches.
Huaraches.
And so I went to the dance with Dad, because we were still going steady. And he had bragged after he was initiated and got his pin that no girl was going to get this because you worked so hard to earn it. And he had just gotten it the week before. And that night when he took me home, he gave me his pin.
Oh, what a soft heart.
What a soft heart. And he said, "This means that we're engaged."
Oh, okay.
And so that was we had talked vaguely about someday getting married after we graduated from college. And I love talking about Dad.
And so, but at high school, you weren't allowed to wear that pin, correct?
I wasn't allowed to wear it outside where anybody could see it. So I always pinned it to my slip, under my top, underneath my dress. Well, two of us got a Fiji pin that year. Dottie Crable and Charlie Lamb gave her his pin. He was a classmate of Dad's and got his pin the same night. So Dottie and I both had Fiji pins that we hid under our dresses.
And that made you feel very special, I'm sure, as high school
Absolutely. So one day when I'm in my hour of work in the Dean of Girls' office, Miss Brazelton, the Dean of Girls, said, "Well, Avonelle, we all know that you have Babe's fraternity pin," because of course Babe had been student body president the year before and she knew him very well. "And we all know you have it, but be sure you always keep it hidden because you're not allowed to wear it." And I said, "Yes, I knew that." So that was the story of that.
Now, you were a good student. You got good grades, right?
I was in the National Honor Society.
Yeah. So school wasn't very difficult for you. I mean, you were
It wasn't real difficult.
You were having a good time and getting good grades.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah. But how about Dad, though? What kind of student was he?
He was a very average student because he just didn't do anything.
So you would consider Dad high intelligence, but rather indifferent with regard to
lazy, academically lazy.
Yeah.
Academically acceptable for anything that he had to do at school.
Right. So it was the classic Mr. and Mrs. Hawke. Babe is very bright, but he's not applying himself.
Yes, exactly.
Half the parents here.
Right.
Parent-teacher conferences. Okay. So you're dating. He's in college. Then what happens?
Well, he was a freshman in college. I'm a senior, and I'm taking bookkeeping from Danny Romero, who was always the senior class advisor. Danny was a great teacher, but he had favorites. He was a bad teacher in that respect. And Babe was one of his favorites, and all the Hawke boys were. And I had bookkeeping in the afternoon, and we sat at long tables, 3 or 4 of us at a table, doing our accounting, doing our work. And Babe had an open period of time between classes at the university at the time I had bookkeeping. So he'd always come and sit with me at the high school in bookkeeping class, and he'd just amble in. School, it was a different generation. He'd amble in, and of course Danny liked him so much, and Danny was also an advisor of his fraternity, an adult advisor. So Babe would amble in and pull up a chair to my table next to me and sit with me while I took my bookkeeping class.
Well, only because it was Babe Hawke was that allowed. Probably.
Yeah.
But at this point, your dating is now revolving around the fraternity activities more so than the high school activities?
Well, both.
Okay.
Both. He came to the high school proms and he came to the dances, and we still went to the movies, and we went to his fraternity parties.
Okay.
And oddly enough, I wasn't barred from that.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't considered uncool that he would come back to the high school activities?
No.
Other college freshmen would come back with their girlfriends?
I never saw them, no.
Okay. Well, then you broke up. Talk about how that happened.
Oh, come on. Do I have to go through that?
Well, it's a happy 74-year ending, so we all know how it ended. So, let's get through it, and then we'll end the session.
Well, just one night, just before my freshman year started that fall, when he took me home, he asked for for my graduation, he had bought me a sweetheart pin, Fiji fraternity pin. So he asked for it back.
And what was his excuse?
None.
He didn't give you any reasons or anything?
Well, I'm trying to
say something like, it's not you, it's me, or I need to find myself, or anything
right.
like that? Nothing new age?
No,
like
he
that.
didn't really give me the real reason, and I didn't know that until long after we were married, and I was giving him a bad time about it.
What was it?
He thought I was taking him for granted.
Oh.
And I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
You're bringing back a lot of silly high school memories.
We all know how it ended, though, so it's okay. It's okay. So, but there wasn't that kind of communication like he was...
Oh, no, he wouldn't tell me that.
Okay.
No,
later on, did he tell you why he thought you were taking him for
granted? He
granted?
just thought it would be good for us if he dated some other people and I dated some other people.
Okay, but that was just... The real reason was he thought...
He thought I was taking advantage, taking him for granted.
You were paying enough attention to him. I mean, you were busy with high school and other things, I'm sure. Were there ever times he would want to do something and you'd say no? You didn't
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's a freshman. He's ending his freshman year at this time, and you're ending your senior year. It wasn't during the summer. It was during the school year.
It was just before my freshman year in college and his sophomore year.
Okay, at the middle or end of that summer.
Okay. And it was just the following year that the war had started.
Right, 41.
In December of 41. Right. This is the fall of 41.
So it's just he broke up with you just before Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
So you're the proximate cause of World War II.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then, of course, we have in his interviews his history about what happened then, and he went and joined up and went into the horse cavalry.
Well, of course, Pearl Harbor came in December of that year. I think he actually signed up. He was in ROTC
Right.
at the university. That was required
Right.
the first 2 years of college. And so he was in ROTC in his starting his sophomore year of college, and I think his official sign up with the military was in '42.
Yeah, after Pearl Harbor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he enlisted just like everybody
Yeah.
else. So, okay, well, let's end it here, and next session we'll start with your college years.
Where you
How that was. Okay.
you sure got a lot of silly stuff this
Oh,
time.
this was great. This is great. Love you.
Love you more.
Bye.